Handling forms in React by default is a very messy task because React doesn't provide you with good form handling tools. What you usually do is map states to your text boxes and call it a day. But what if I tell you that there is a library that helps you manage forms in a more efficient manner and requires you to do a lot less hard work than you are doing right now? It's called as React Hook Form, and in this video we are going to look at React Hook Form and how you can use it in your React apps and client components to make your form handling a much more easier task and also handle validation without any pain. First of all, we are going to create a form using the traditional way. I won't use a lot of time, but we are going to see how difficult it is, and I'm going to pinpoint all the pain points of creating a form using the very traditional way in React. And then we are going to use React Hook Form and see how much of the hard work is eliminated, and we are going to see if you should really use React Hook Form or not. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so first of all, we are going to need to create a React application. So I'm going to use Next.js. If you want to use something like Vite, go ahead and do so. So we are going to do pnpx, create next app, and I'm going to name it React Form Video or React Form Vite, I guess, because this folder only contains Vite builds. So let's press enter, and we are going to leave it to default settings. So TypeScript yes, ESLint yes, Tailwind yeah, because we are going to do some minor stylings so as to not make it super ugly. We can have a SASE directory, app router yes, because we want everything latest on this channel, and import alias, no, we don't really need to customize it. So let's wait for this to install. It shouldn't take a lot of time. And then we have a few packages to install for forms. Now let's go to the folder. So we're going to do cd react form Vite, and now here we are going to install some packages. So let's do npm install. So these are the three packages: React Hook Form, Hook Form / resolvers, and Zod. So I'll explain all of these packages once we start working with them, but just to give a gist of it, React Hook Form is the actual package which we are going to demonstrate in this video. Hook Form resolvers is a resolver that will help you manage your Zod schemas, integrate your Zod schemas into your React Hook Form so that you can validate user inputs in the form. So it might sound all complicated, but let's just install it, and I'm going to explain everything once we get to that part. So we are going to press enter, and we are going to wait for this to install. Perfect. And now we are going to run our dev server and open the code editor. So we are going to do code dot and pnpm dev. This should start the dev server and also open up. Okay, my Visual Studio code decides to, yeah. Now we have our project, and now we can just start our coding. So first of all, we are going to see how traditional forms work in React and how tedious they are, and then we are going to move to React Hook Forms. Okay, so first thing first, let's get rid of all the default stylings here because they are going to interfere later and I don't want to run into them again. So let's delete this. Let's go to page.tsx, and this is going to be the page which we are going to use for the traditional form. I just keep calling it traditional form. I don't know why, but it's not. Okay, let's just forget it. First of all, this is going to be a client component, not a server component. So let's remove all of this, and we are just going to do use client here. So use client. Perfect. And now we are just going to do RFC and generate a React component. We don't need this line anymore. We are going to name it traditional, and now we are going to need some states to begin with because we are going to have some text boxes. To give you a gist, we are going to create a user registration form which will contain, first of all, email, then password, then confirm password, then first name and last name, and these will have their own valid set of validations, and we are going to see how we can do it using this method. So let's start creating the states. So the first state we need is the email one. So we're going to do const email set email is equal to use state this, and we can even have, let's first auto import this, and now we can even give it a type. So I can just say string, And we can have a lot of states, like we have 4 more fields here, so I'm not going to type them all. I'm just going to paste this because it's just going to be tedious. So these are the fields which we need. So email, password, confirm password, first name, last name. So basically in this method, what you do is you have access to the text box text in this one, and the setter is used to manage the input box. So the input box, whenever something is changed in that input box, the setter is called and the updated value is stored in the state. Now that we have the states, we need to create the actual text boxes. So let's give, because we have Tailwind installed, we can quickly add some styling. So let's have a class name and add a padding of 10 here, just to get some space. And then we are going to have a form here. So the form will be, form will have an action, actually forms on submit. So on submit is the React way of doing the actions. So we are going to do on submit, and we are going to create this function. So not on submit, it's going to be on submit. Now let's quickly create this function so that this doesn't start crying. So let's do function on submit, and let's just have this like this. And I think, yeah, let's just leave this like this for now. And now we are also going to have some styling here. So class name space y, let's do 5 because we are going to need some spacing here, or all the input boxes will be just messy and stick to each other, and it won't look good. Now we are going to need to add text boxes. So we are going to enclose each text box in a div so that each text box appears one below another. So let's do that. So div, we are not focusing a lot on styling in this one. You can definitely have different ways of styling. So input, we are going to have placeholder email, and we're going to have type email. So this has already done this for me. So input placeholder email, type email, value should be email, and on change should be this. And we're going to also have a class here. So class name, we are going to have a border, and the border is supposed to be black. So border black. Then we are going to have px5 and py3. So py3. Now we are going to have 4 more, I think, yeah, we are going to have 4 more text boxes like this. So let's just copy this and let's keep doing that. So each one is going to have some different purpose. So for this one, this is going to be password, and type will be password. This is going to take a lot of time. Okay, I'm going to skip this part and I'm just going to complete this and be back. Oh yeah, finally done. And now we can simply have a button type submit. Button type submit, and we are going to have the submit. We can also have a class name here. So class name should be bg black, text white. Then we are also going to need px5 and py3. So let's save this, and yeah, if you couldn't see those classes now, you can see those now. Perfect. And now this should work, but we have that on submit, and basically these input boxes are not validated. So what happens usually is when you are sending data to a server does their side of validation, but you should, as a front-end developer, you should also do some kind of validation from your side for better error handling purposes. So here, what kind of validation do you think we require? First of all, we need to ensure that none of these fields are empty. One way of doing it is by setting minimum values here, or you can do that through on submit, which we are going to do. Or and then you also need to check the password and confirm password if those are equal or not. And if those are not equal, you need to show an error. So first of all, we need to check if all of these values exist or not. So we are going to do if, and yeah, we are just going to return an alert. All fields are required, and you know what we could do is we could target all of these individually to specify which field is missing, and it's just going to be a long piece of code to do that. So you just need to do if exclamation email, please fill out the email, if exclamation password, please fill out the password. If you want complexity, you can have it using this method, and it's just going to be terrible. And now what we need to check, the second piece of code we need to check is if the password and confirm password are same. So let's do that. So we are just going to do if these are not same, if password is not equal to confirm password, we are just going to return an alert. And at the end, if everything is fine, we are just going to simulate a user creation request, and we are just going to say user created successfully. Yeah, you know, this is not the best way of doing things, because what's happening here is that okay, hold on, we missed something. We need e.prevent default here. That's also one thing, e.prevent default, so that the page doesn't reload. Okay, so what things are happening is that everything is so vague. Like whenever the person press submit, if any of these fields is not filled, it will just say please fill out all fields, and it's just fine for a form with like five fields. But if you are creating a form with like 100 or 200 fields, the user will not know which field they have missed. Like they need to know which specific field they have missed. And I think the best way to do that is having some kind of red text in front of that field to know that you have missed this field. And you really can't do that without adding much complexity. So if you wanted to do that, you had to create new states for errors for all of those different text boxes, or you had to create a state which was an object that contained error messages for all of these, and it's going to be a lot difficult here. So yeah, this should pretty much work. Now just for the sake of showing you, let's go to our browser and let's check this out. So localhost 3000, hopefully this works. Yeah, my dev server is super slow when I'm recording. So by default, you have input type email, so it won't let you do anything else than email. I hope so. Yeah, it won't let you do anything other than that, because it's a browser based validation. So you're not validating anything through your application itself, it's the browser validating. And if for some reason somebody is using a browser that doesn't support this validation, good luck with validating. So yeah, so you can just do test@test.com. And then you can click submit, and it says please fill out all fields, and we just need to fill all of these. Notice that I don't have the first name and last name, the password and confirm password the same. So if you submit, it says password do not match. Now if I have 1 2 3 4 here, it should do its thing, and it says user created successfully. Now this method is a lot tedious, and I'm sorry for wasting a lot of your time. The timestamps are in the description. We are going to go to React hook form method, and it's going to be blazing fast, and you won't even notice when it finished. So let's get started. So the way we are going to do it with React hook form and Zod is that we're going to create a file with the schema of the form itself, all of the things necessary for that form to work, and then we are going to build out the actual form by using that schema, and that schema will be responsible for auto validating all of the data, so you don't need to worry about validation at all. And the function will be called only when all of those fields are validated on the client side. So let's create a new folder in src. You can name it all you want. I am very bad at naming, so I'm just going to call it types. I'm pretty sure this is not supposed to be types here. And let's create a new one called inputs.ts. Again, choose your own name, so I don't care. And now here you need to import Zod. So those who don't know, Zod is a validation library. I'm going to create a new video on it very soon, so make sure you are subscribed to this channel. And I'm going to create a lot of front-end tutorials as well, and even back-end if you want to, so let me know in the comments. So import z from Zod, I know this might look a little weird, but things will start making sense because this library is pretty easy to read. So we are going to create a new schema. We are going to call it const register input schema, and this is going to have a sort schema. So we're just going to say that this is going to be an object, so z.object, and now we start writing. So first field is going to be email, and this is going to be a string first of all, and then we are going to say that this is going to be an email. Okay, first of all, let's have min, because min1, that means that this field cannot be left empty, and we are just going to have the error as email is required. We pass in all the error messages here, and then we are going to mention that this is going to be an email. So for browsers that don't support HTML email thing, this is going to catch it. The next thing we need is the password. So the password here, it should be string again, and now it should be, let's try to make a good password strategy. So a good password should be minimum 5 characters. I'm pretty sure it should be more, but for the sake of this tutorial, let's make it 5, and let's make max as 15. I don't know why would you have max, but I'm just flexing at this point. And yeah, this is basically what you need, and we can have error messages here. So we are going to say password should be minimum 5 character, and for 15 the error message should be password should not exceed 15 characters. Perfect, and let's save this to format this, and we are going to need the same for confirm passwords because the user is going to enter the same password, and we are going to validate that here itself. So this is going to be confirm password. You can name it whatever you want to, by the way. Now we are going to have first name and last name, so let's add those. So first name should be a string again, and it should be a minimum of 1 letter. I'm not judging anyone, so first, I don't know, I'm not judging anyone. So first name is required, name is required, and for the last name you know what, I'm just going to copy this, and this should be last name should be required, last name is required, sorry. Perfect. And there is one set of validation that's still missing, which is checking if the password and confirm password are equal or not. So how do we do that? We are going to go here, and because we are going to compare two values inside this schema, we are going to add a refine just outside of z.object. So we are going to do .refine, and we are going to get the data first, and we are going to check if data.password is equal to data.confirm password. Now the thing with Zord is that if this is true, there won't be an error, but if there is any error, this error message will be returned. So we need to have this first. So the message itself should be passwords do not match, and the path where you want to show that error, because we are going to have error for different fields, so the errors will be displayed on the top of the field. So for which path do you want to display this error? So for this, I am just going to say confirm password. Perfect, and that's all for the schema. And now we need to generate a type out of this schema. Why do you say? Because we get a lot of type safety while building out the form itself. So let's do type register input is equal to z.infer, that is going to generate a type for this, type of register input schema. And now we are just going to export. So first of all, we are going to export the schema itself because we are going to need it. So register input schema, and then we are going to export the type. So export type register input. We cannot export both of these into the same export because I tried doing that and it shows an error. So you need to export types differently than these. So yeah, now where do we do this? Let's create a new folder here to create a new path, and we are just going to call it react hook RHF. I'm just going to call it RHF, and let's get a new page.tsx here. We are going to copy a lot of different things like stylings from the traditional one, but let's start laying some things. So use client first of all. I am not sure why my arc is not happy with me right now, but let's see. No, I don't want to save password. No. Let's go back to VS Code. Let's do RFC. Hello, RFC. Let's remove this line. Let's call this RFH. Now what we need to do here is we need to have, we are going to do const. We are going to open an object here and we are going to do use form. We are going to need to import this manually because for whatever reason it's not importing here. So import use form from this, and then we are also going to import the type. So first of all, let's import type. No, not submit handler. We need what was the name of the type? Register input. Register input, yeah, perfect. And we also need the schema itself. So import register input schema, perfect. Now use form hook, and we are going to have a type with this. So we are going to have register input for type safety. So that's that. And now we are going to have an object here because we are going to pass in a resolver. So resolver should be Zord resolver, which comes from hook form /resolver /Zord, which will help us to validate all of the fields using our Zord schema. So it will just refer the Zord schema and validate using that. So we're just going to pass in the schema like this, and it will do whatever it will do, basically everything. So the things we need here is register. Then I believe that we also need a form state, and we need errors out of it. So we need that. And then we need handle submit. These are the three things we require. And now let's start to get some things. So I'm just going to go to the traditional here, and we're just going to, okay, let's just copy all of this form. We are going to remove a lot of different things from here because we simply don't need many of that. So paste this, and first of all, let's go here and give it a class name of p10. On submit, we need a on submit function, but you know what, we need a handle submit, and we need an on submit here. So we need to create one on submit function. So function on submit, yeah, perfect. And the data will be of register input type, and this function will be only ever be called after all the validation has been completed and successfully done. So if the person enters some kind of messy data, this function will never execute. So whatever code you have in, just feel free to know that the code is validated. But yeah, you also need to have server-side validation just in case. So here we don't need a lot of different things. We definitely don't need all this value and stuff. We're just going to remove this from all of those. So just remove these because we have everything defined already. So we don't need to manage states here. Remember, we haven't created one state here. So now we need to do register. Yeah, thank you, Copilot. And now we need to just copy this and paste it for different things. So Copilot, can you help me here as well? Okay, thank you so much. And I want to show you something. So let me just quickly do this and I'll show you. So the thing is here is that if you use something like some random thing, it will show this red line because this is not defined in our schema, and that's the power of type safety, and that's why we created the type for the XOR schema. So this must contain the list of the things we created. So the last name is the only thing which is left. So last name. Perfect. And now after this is done, we are just going to console log and we're just going to alert user created successfully. And we still need to handle errors here. So instead of showing errors in the form of alerts and just vaguely saying that something is missing, we need to create error fields for all of these. So we are going to say, you know what, how should we do this? Let's create a new div here before each and every this, and we're just going to errors dot email dot message. If there is a message, we are just going to, you know what, hold on, we don't need to create separate divs for the errors, so I'm just going to remove this and we're just going to add it in the divs. So we're just going to do this, and it says if there is an error, if there is an error in the input field, we're just going to have a red text and we're just going to print out the message. And the message is, by the way, if you forgot, we have the messages here, so these error messages will be printed here. So we are going to have these for all inputs. So Copilot, can you please help me? Thank you so much, Copilot. Is it the same? Yeah. Let's have that for every single field. First name, last name. I wanted to remember one thing, that we are not handling these error messages and validation and stuff using states and stuff, but React Hook Form is doing that for us using our XOR schema, and it is handling each and every error field differently and printing out the, it is giving us the errors and which we are printing out separately. So it's a lot easier than using the states method of forms. So I think this is done. We can just save and we can just go back to Arc, and we need to go to RHF. Yeah, this page is loaded. Now what we can do is we can just click on submit, and it's going to say email is required. And there's a lot of different error fields, like literally each of the error field is now crying. So we need to have some emails. So we're just going to say test@test.com. The password should be 1234. The confirm password should be 1234. By the way, it's still crying. So the name is Atharva Devastale. Perfect. And if you try to submit, it's going to cry. It won't let you submit. So if you remember, we had that console log and alert. If none of them is showing, that means that the function is not getting executed. And that's a good thing for us, because the function should only be called if all the data is validated. So let's have 5 here, and I'm going to mess this thing, and I'm just going to add some random thing, and it instantly says that passwords do not match. So it's not going to let us submit it. So I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everything is good. Let's submit. User created successfully. And if you look at the console, you should be seeing all the data, and you could do whatever you want to do with it. So yeah, this is how easy React Hook Form is. And I think for large forms, this makes a lot of sense to use. And you would ever only need it to use in client components, because in server components you have very different things. You can't even run JavaScript there, so you only rely on the traditional forms like using form action, post and stuff, and you use something like Next.js server actions. So you can't use React Hook Form there unless they change something. But yeah, this is how React Hook Form works in client components. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you learned something new from this video, and I hope you would use React Hook Form in some of your projects, and it's going to be helpful for you a lot. Additionally, if you found this video helpful, make sure you click the like button, hit the subscribe button, and share this video with your friends to help them with the same educational content as you are enjoying right now. If you have any questions or if you have any content related suggestions, make sure you drop them in the comments below. I will have the GitHub repository associated with the tutorial in the description below. And if I'm also going to create a new video on Zord specifically, so if you want to have that video up, make sure you click the subscribe button and make sure you stay tuned to the channel because it will be out anytime pretty soon. So yeah, that's it for this video. I really appreciate you tuning in and learning something new. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.